Hey everybody, Jam Creates here, doing another drive time video. I figured it's funny because I've got some more comic reviews coming, so if you're into the comic reviews, don't worry, they're coming. I've got some stuff like Scrimshaw and Midnight Mystery and ICYMI issue 2. Got some other stuff coming, so look forward to that. I've definitely still got more Jam Comics classics coming, so I hope you guys are enjoying those because I really enjoy posting those. And I'm gonna try and work on some. I'm actually working on hopefully another It Came From Comixology, and another old school comics video. So anyway, all that being said, if you're new here, if you've never seen the channel before, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, please. We would love to have you. I'm really enjoying all the interactions. Comment on the videos. Everybody can tell you I comment back, even if it's just to say, like, dude, I agree. I'm going to read it. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about is, it's funny. I posted a video, and it's funny because it's like been a string now of I posted a video, and then the reaction to that video made me think of something else, and now the reaction to that video has made me think of something else. And here's where I'm at right now, where I was thinking of. I've been talking about how easy it is. I did the whole video about how easy it is to learn how to make a sale, to sell comic books in this day and age, in under 10 minutes, just by being cool to your customers or your potential customers. And I got a great reaction to that video, and it got me thinking. It's kind of funny because, again, this is such simple stuff and should really be business 101. Don't call your customers names. Don't make fun of them. Don't try to alienate them all the time. And surprisingly enough, they will give you money. So anyway, what I was thinking of is, a lot of time, of course, since I focus on comic books, a lot of time, the thinking, of course, always goes back to the big two, or even, if you want to include like IDW and Image and all them in there too, you could do that too. But what's really funny is the phrase that came into my mind, and it just kind of popped in there. We'll get to the phrase, but I think, when I was doing the video talking about Legends of Log and how the reaction to my review of it came out on a Wednesday spurred on eventually a cool reaction from the Log team, and then made me decide, hey, I'm going to go buy their comic because these guys were cool and they sounded cool and they seemed cool. Like, this is a simple equation. Generally, if somebody seems cool, you want to support them. So what I'm getting at is, the thing is, the team behind Legends of Log, the teams behind the Alterna books that you see, because I've had great reactions from those guys all along. Like, from the very get-go, I've had great reactions from the creators at Alterna. Eric Henson hit me up, commented on my review of Eden issue 4, and seemed genuinely excited by the fact that I was genuinely excited by his book, that I really enjoyed his book, and that issue 4 caught me by surprise, and he seemed genuinely moved that I was excited by that. Now, here's the thing. These are small teams. These are small books. Yes, part of, people are going to look at it and go, well, yeah, they have to be that way because they're so small. They have to cultivate their audience or they're not going to have an audience. And I get that, and that makes sense. However, what people seem to be forgetting, and when I say people, I mean the people directly involved, people at brands like Marvel, brands like DC, brands like Image, even brands like Star Wars, for example, because we see it there all the time. They seem to forget that at one time or another, those brands were small as well. And those brands needed to cultivate their fan base to become the giant juggernaut brands that they became. What tends to happen is the people involved in those things came on after they were already huge at this point. None of these people who were there at the start. None of these people, especially now that you've got, Lucas is gone from Star Wars, Stan Lee is no longer around. The people who are running Marvel are not the people who were running Marvel back when it was timely. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just not how it works. So they're just not there anymore. They've been around for so long. They've grown so huge that the people involved tend to think of them. They have always been these giant monolithic corporations, and they just seem to think they will always be that. But what they don't get is that's not how business works. That's not how the world works. Even the biggest of businesses can fall apart. The biggest businesses can fail. And they fail by people not adhering to good business practices. And this is what's happening. I think these people tend to think that they are too big to fail. They think that they're always been big, they always will be big, and nothing will ever change that. What they're not seeing is the erosion. When you look at a beach, you look at an island, you see the island in the short span of time and you think, well, it's big, it's an island, it's always going to be there. You don't take into account the decades of erosion that happens along the beaches, and suddenly, after decades and decades of erosion, that island eventually completely disappears. I mean, islands can completely disappear into the ocean. And that's what can happen to a big business too. It can be eroded over time. And honestly, it doesn't take as long as an island to disappear for a business to crumble. Because what tends to happen with businesses is momentum. The crumbling momentum tends to take hold, and then suddenly it speeds up and speeds up and speeds up until it just crashes. And people aren't noticing it. Some people aren't paying attention to it yet, but you're seeing it start to happen with some of these brands, with like Marvel and like Star Wars. These brands are starting to falter because the people involved are not cultivating their relationship with their fans. And what's happening is the smaller companies are, because they need to. Yes, they do need to, but that's what they're doing if they're smart, and they will then grow. And the big businesses will slowly erode away till eventually they are nothing. What's going to happen is the profits are going to disappear, and eventually the costs will outweigh the benefits. Listen, without getting too businessy, return on investment, your ROI is huge. That really is what makes or breaks you as a business. And I know a lot of people don't want to pay attention to this because you're talking about art, but the bottom line is you're talking about business. This is art as business, not art as art. It's not art for art's sake. If you want to make art for art's sake, you certainly can, and no one will stop you. You just won't make a living at it. And that's fine if you're just doing it as a hobby. But when you're trying to run a $1 billion business like Disney, you can't afford to lose money on things. You can here and there if you think it's worthwhile. You have a loss leader, that's fine. You can do that in the short term if you think the long-term investment will be worth it. And that's what they did. When they paid $4 billion for Star Wars, they were doing that as, okay, yeah, this is going to put a huge hit on our company's bottom line for this year, for this fiscal year. But in the long term, Star Wars is going to be a cash cow. We're going to be able to milk that for decades to come and make lots and lots of money. But what's happening now is it's starting to bleed because the people who are running it are just they're not good stewards. They're not caring. They're not good custodians of their brand. And, you could make a movie. Like, I still think Star Wars, the bottom line is, listen, a lot of people don't like The Phantom Menace. They hated it when it came out. There was all these, idiots out there crying out, George Lucas raped my childhood, all that nonsense. Which is all just BS, like, honestly. Like, stop your whining. If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine. But you can say you don't like it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. When you start acting like a moron and writing songs about it, that's a little bit silly. But you can say you don't like it, and that's fine. And a lot of people said that about the prequels. But look what happened. When The Force Awakens came out, suddenly, #1 box office of all time. Why? Because Star Wars can withstand some criticism, some stuff. But Lucas never turned around and attacked the fans, ever. And that's not the case now. Now everyone involved, from people who actually are involved in making the movies, like Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, to people who actually have nothing to do with making the movies, but who work tangentially on Star Wars, will show themselves sipping out of mugs that say fanboy tears. Why? Because they just like to antagonize the fans, because they feel like they are untouchable. They feel like it will never fail. Well, guess what? It can fail, and it will fail if you continue to push it that way. And the same thing's going to happen with Marvel Comics. Eventually, Disney is going to say these characters are worth money, the comics are worthless. And guess what? Once that happens, once they reach that tipping point, they're literally just going to shut the doors on Marvel Comics. They will no longer make comics anymore. They will simply be a brand. They will license out the characters for comic books to be made by third parties, just like they did with their video games. And all those people who are right now antagonizing the fans and thinking that they're untouchable because it's Marvel and how could it ever go away? Oh, it can, and it will. And so the bottom line is, you're not too big to fail. Anyone can fail. Any business of any size can fail. You have to be a good steward, and you have to care, and it's simple. I'm not saying that Marvel Comics needs to reach out to every single person on Twitter and say, hey, it's cool that you liked my book. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, don't go on Twitter constantly telling the fans, well, we don't want you to read our book anyway because you're the wrong kind of fan. That's ridiculous. That's just absurd. What's the wrong kind of fan? The only wrong kind of fan is someone who's pirating comics. That's the wrong kind of fan because they're not making you any money. The right kind of fan is somebody with $1 in his pocket who is willing to spend it on your product. So anyway, that's all. That's my little rant for today. I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. Have a great day. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. I will be talking to you guys again soon. There may be a little bit of interruptions here and there because there's some family stuff going on right now I'm not going to get into, but if there are any interruptions in the flow of content, that would be why. I want to thank everybody out there who follows this channel. You guys are awesome. And I will talk to you guys soon. Peace out.